Welcome to Agenda Edina, a news program summarizing the actions taken at City Hall that affect you most. I'm your host, Dorothea Marty. After more than 3 hours of public testimony at a meeting last month, the City Council voted against a proposal that would have allowed 2 towers, more than 20 stories each, in the greater Southdale area. Ryan Company's proposed building Estelle, Edina, at the southwest corner of 69th Street and France Avenue. Phase 1 of the project was to include 11,000 square feet of retail, 6 townhomes, and 92 condos in a 26-story tower. Phase 2 was to include a 22-story building with retail on the main level and 75 condos. The developer requested an amendment to the Edina Comprehensive Plan to increase the density from 30 to 60 units per acre and the maximum height from 4 stories, not to exceed 48 feet, to 26 stories, not to exceed 360 feet. Though the trend in multifamily development is higher density, the majority of council members struggled with the height of the proposed development. Estelle, Edina was rejected on a vote of 1-4. The city will not encourage the development of passenger rail service in Edina in the Dan Patch corridor at this time. Over the summer months, the city talked with residents and businesses about the possibility of studying passenger rail service through Edina, specifically in the Dan Patch corridor. The Dan Patch corridor is a railway that connects Minneapolis and Northfield, running north-south through Edina, just west of Minnesota Highway 100. Although transit interest in this corridor was renewed in the late 1990s and early 2000s, it is currently under a gag rule that prohibits the Metropolitan Council, Minnesota Department of Transportation, and regional railroad authorities from further study of commuter rail in this corridor. The Edina Transportation Commission conducted a study this year to answer 2 specific questions. Should the city request elimination of the gag rule? And should the city dedicate resources to developing a plan to encourage the development of passenger rail service in Edina? Based on high-level review of the corridor and feedback from the public, the Transportation Commission determined that the answer was no to both questions.
We heard a great deal from people who live adjacent to the line. They were some of the most vocal opponents to the project. And it was due to that, and plus a really high-level look at how the area can support passenger rail in terms of densities and land use and things like that, where the recommendation to not pursue came from.
Although it is not recommended that the city pursue passenger rail in the Dan Patch corridor at this time, there are overall indicators that suggest Edina could support additional transit options. Previous engagement efforts in the community, as captured in the Vision Edina document, have indicated the community's desire for enhanced transit. The study suggests that the city should invest time and resources into looking at other possible transit corridors. This may also include consideration of other modes of transit in addition to passenger rail. Have a view or opinion to share with city leaders? The Edina City Council will host a town hall meeting 10 a.m. to noon, Saturday, November 18th at the Edina Senior Center. Residents are encouraged to attend, as the meeting will serve as a forum to ask questions and share perspectives about topics facing the city. City leaders and community members came together to work out urban planning issues using a budget, a map of a rundown neighborhood, and some Legos. Edina TV's Rusty Ray talked with those involved about how the hands-on training may help shape the future.
Nathan Van Wylen spent the morning watching his fellow team members move multicolored Legos around a map in the middle of the table.
So it's about being able to tell your story and then kind of representing that in how you lay out the different blocks.
The blocks represented buildings in a revamped neighborhood in a city just like Edina. It's all part of the urban plan workshop that Urban Land Institute leaders brought to Edina.
This workshop doesn't say this type of development is good and this type is bad, but it gets people to really think about the issues and have a conversation.
Each person played a different role in each group, and each group had budget targets and community input to consider.
Organizers hope this is a helpful exercise in communities just like Edina because it helps participants see how blocks fit together on a map, but they hope the participants learn that just like these blocks, blocks, there are many sides to these projects.
So it takes some of the emotions we all feel when we're talking about our own communities where we may not want something to happen. Here you might end up advocating for it.
It's that kind of conversation that Edina leaders hope can happen more often.
And all of us that are on the council now are part of that same transition team as our city kind of gets set for the next 80 to 100 years.
But each of those groups doesn't get to decide how it happens, right? There's a whole process where everybody has to give and take. And hopefully then you result in a project where everybody gets something from it.
For Van Weiland's group and others in the room, that was the ultimate goal.
I think it's interesting for like a community member to see kind of the process that goes in behind any development, because a lot of times all you see is sort of the final rendering or design at a later point.
Maybe by starting with just blocks on a map, these planners can help influence how Edina fits the pieces together in the future. At Braemar Golf Course, Rusty Ray, Edina TV.
At the end of the workshop, the teams got to present the full plan for their community development to a fictitious city council and receive feedback for their bids. Urban Land Institute officials also toured Edina with city leaders during their visit. Thanks for watching this episode of Agenda Edina. I'm your host, Dorothea Marty.